Welcome back to the deep dive. For years we've talked about the promise of decentralized finance, but today we're moving past the promise and looking at the architecture of right now.
Exactly.
We are diving into this massive blend of traditional finance, TradFi, and the decentralized ecosystems of DeFi. Our mission today is, well, it's a two-part deep dive. We have source material detailing what's being called the RWA revolution, real-world assets.
Hmm.
And it's being touted as a potential trillion-dollar shift in how we own things. And then we have the second, crucial part, the practical infrastructure, a service called Pinto Pay that actually lets you use these new digital assets like cash.
And that's the complete narrative, right? When you look at these sources together, you realize we're not just theorizing anymore. We're focused on utility.
Yes.
It's about redefining ownership through tokenization, sure, but more importantly, it's about immediately connecting that new digital ownership to instant global physical purchasing power. That's why this matters. That's why you, the listener, need to understand the full loop.
Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with that trillion-dollar idea. Real-world assets, or RWA. The source material defines RWA as the process of taking tangible and intangible assets
Right? Things like real estate, art, commodities, even intellectual property.
and putting their representation onto a blockchain.
What's fascinating here is just the sheer velocity this process adds.
Yeah.
I mean, think about a high-value asset, maybe a huge commercial building. Historically, that thing is incredibly illiquid.
Oh, completely stuck.
Selling it is slow, it's paperwork heavy, it's expensive. You can't just sell off a tiny piece of a commercial lease in 5 minutes.
And that's the whole point of tokenization, right?
Yeah.
You create this security token that represents a share of that asset, and suddenly you unlock all that frozen value.
Precisely. That token enables fractional ownership. And that's the bridge, the immediate mechanism linking the stability of TradFi with the accessibility that DeFi promises.
It's all about access.
It digitizes the asset, makes it instantly programmable and globally tradable 24/7. It just completely flips the script on what it means to be an owner.
So the goals are increased liquidity, greater transparency, improved accessibility. That all makes sense through fractional ownership. But doesn't digitizing something that complex, doesn't that just open up a huge can of regulatory worms? Especially when you're talking about real estate that sits across different jurisdictions. That must be the central friction point the source gets into.
It absolutely is. While the benefits are clear, the source material is careful to balance its enthusiasm by flagging the critical risks and challenges in the RWO space.
Okay.
This monumental shift won't happen overnight because the biggest hurdle isn't technological, it's legal and custodial.
So what's the most complex challenge, according to the source? Is it valuing these things, or is it the compliance?
It's the regulatory clarity and legal enforceability. That's the core conflict. For a tokenized asset to have any real value, that digital token has to have a clear, legally sound link to the actual physical thing it represents.
Right. You have to be able to prove it in court.
Exactly. If the token says you own part of a building, you need a mechanism to enforce that ownership if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that requires these robust legal frameworks that, well, they often lag way behind the tech.
So it's not just tech. It's a huge jurisdictional puzzle that has to be solved before that trillion-dollar narrative can really play out. But, okay, let's assume these tokens are being created, tokenized bonds, shares of art, whatever.
They are.
They still need to be used. And that brings us to the second half of this deep dive.
Exactly. The challenge with your tokenized real estate is that even if it's incredibly liquid on-chain, how do I actually use that value to, buy groceries?
Or pay my electricity bill.
Right. There's this gaping chasm between digital ownership and physical utility. That has to be solved.
And that gap is exactly where this Pinto Pay infrastructure comes in, acting as that essential utility layer.
It's presented as a next-gen service that's designed to complete the loop. Spend your crypto like cash. And they do it through a secure neobanked infrastructure, issuing physical or virtual cards on major networks.
So Visa and MasterCard.
Visa, MasterCard, the ones everyone already uses.
So they basically built the bridge. My digital tokenized assets on the blockchain can be instantly converted and spent on a standard payment rail anywhere.
Functionally, yes. The integration is seamless. The cards work with Apple Pay, Google Pay, and critically, they can be topped up instantly with a whole range of crypto or fiat assets.
That's the key, instant top-ups.
It provides worldwide use. It means digital ownership translates immediately into physical purchasing power. Doesn't matter where you are or what time it is.
And the source material gave us some really interesting market indicators on this. I mean, this isn't just a concept. It's already scaled pretty rapidly.
Yeah, you see clear real-world stickiness.
Yeah.
This system has over, 117,000 total users, which is significant. But what's more telling to me is the active usage.
Right, the MAUs and DAUs.
38,000 monthly active users and 12,500 daily active users.
Yeah.
A high ratio like that suggests this isn't just something people sign up for and forget. It's utility they're actually relying on.
And if we look at their B2B growth, they report averaging 11 or more new business integrations every single month. That tells you that other companies see this as essential infrastructure.
And that connects to the bigger picture. PintoPay is providing what the source calls financial logistics infrastructure.
Right.
For a partner company, that means PintoPay handles all of the legal, the technical, the compliance rails for cross-border transfers. They provide this ready-made, compliant backbone for financial movement, so the partners don't have to build it all themselves.
Which is a massive burden to offload. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at how companies, whether they're small fintechs or huge crypto exchanges, can actually integrate this.
Absolutely. There are two main paths, and they really show the strategic choice a partner has to make. Speed versus control.
Okay, so option one is the API solution. This sounds like the lighter lift for partners who already have their own crypto wallets and just need to bolt on the card functionality.
That's the lower entry point. It's for a company that wants to integrate card issuance directly into their existing project using their established user base and wallets. It's great for rapid deployment if you prioritize control over your own platform.
So you pay a modest fee, but you handle the support yourself.
Pretty much. You handle the user-facing heavy lifting.
And then there's a second path, the white label solution. This sounds like the full service model.
It is. It's a strategic shift toward speed and brand establishment. The white label solution is a ready-made platform. It has the wallets, the financial license, everything, all branded under the partner's name.
So a much bigger initial investment.
A significantly higher investment, yes. But in return, the partner gets a fully managed system. Full L1 and L2 support, custom branding, a built-in client interface, even a Telegram mini app.
So if I'm running a small crypto exchange, this means I can effectively turn my user base into a passive income stream. I'm monetizing every time someone buys a coffee with their card.
Exactly. And you don't have to build the banking backend yourself. The business model is structured for recurring revenue. Partners earn from every card issued and topped up by their customers. It generates passive, scaled income.
To give you, the listener, a sense of the scale here, the source provides a really illuminating income forecast example.
Yeah, it's a good one. Let's assume a moderate scale. A partner gets 1,000 active users. If each of those users spends, say, $1,000 a month, that's $1 million in monthly volume.
Okay.
Based on the 1% to 2% commission the partner earns, their forecast income is a very healthy $10,000 to $20,000 a month.
Wow.
That's pure recurring revenue derived entirely from customer activity.
And that right there shows why this kind of infrastructure adoption is accelerating. It turns your existing customer traffic into a consistent revenue stream. It's utility for the user and profit for the company. Now, what about the costs for the end user?
The end-user costs are clear. For a virtual card, the Visa, Apple Pay, or Google Pay option, the fee is typically in the double digits, often reduced for promotions. And then there are small deposit fees, usually around 1.5% to 2% when you top up the card with crypto.
So what does this all mean?
It means we're seeing the final stages of the infrastructure needed for mass adoption. I think the key insight for you, the listener, is that the market is moving past the debate over if digital assets are valuable and focusing entirely on how they are useful.
Right. The utility layer.
The future is built on two pillars. First, robust, legally sound digital ownership through RWA. And second, instant seamless utility from infrastructure like PintoPay. This knowledge helps you understand where capital is rapidly consolidating right at that intersection.
Absolutely. The RWA source says this trend is redefining ownership. And that is the central idea I want you to mull over as we finish up. Think about the sheer volume of global value currently locked up in illiquid, slow-moving systems.
It's staggering.
Fractional shares of a skyscraper, IP rights, exclusive commodities. If this RWA revolution truly takes hold and solves its regulatory challenges, what percentage of the world's total value will eventually become a secure, transparent, and instantly tradable digital token?
Something to think about.
That is the scale of the disruption we are discussing, and its impact will be felt in every economy. That is going to wrap up our deep dive on tokenizing the world and building the bridges to make that value instantly spendable. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.